As an empath, you're someone who is naturally drawn to helping people. And many of you, whether you know it or not, are also naturally very creative and artistic. In this video, I'm going to talk about common professions that empaths enter, what burns them out, and ultimately this one thing that every empath must have in place in order to not just survive in their careers, but to be able to thrive in them. A few years ago, I published a short video here on YouTube called The Best Job for Empaths. Just so happens that in the last few months, it's been taking off and it's been accumulating a lot of comments. After reading through every comment, I saw a pattern. I saw the path that a lot of empaths go through exactly as I laid out in the video, which really wasn't about the best jobs for empaths, but more so this one thing that if you don't have it in place for yourself, it's going to make even your greatest passion become your biggest resentment. We'll talk about those resentments too, how that shows up. And of course, this one thing that you need to have, that everyone needs to have, but more so, empaths really struggle with this one thing. So first, let's go through those jobs that were mentioned by you in the comments that you have and you love. The first one is being a writer. Next up was massage therapists. Also mentioned were social workers and therapists. And someone asked, what about working in a coffee shop? This one didn't seem to go over as well. So many comments came in from nurses. And a popular one was working with animals. And then next to nurses, there was a lot of teachers in the comments. Then we got to truck drivers, drivers in general, who commented in pretty large numbers as well. Somebody wrote in saying, I'm a trucker. I mostly get to be alone with my music or podcasts. It's been a good fit for me. The pay is reasonable. And even though traffic can be stressful, being in my own space keeps me from getting burnt out much better than an office ever did. Hairstylist was a popular one as well. And other fields with notable mentions were mechanics, software developers, librarian showed up a few times, as did photographer. There were florists, scientists and researchers, housekeepers and cleaners. But what seems to happen with us empathic people is that depending on the type of job you're doing, especially those where you have to interact with the public or just be around people in general, your people-pleasing tendencies start to run the show. And what happens after that? Resentment. I'm a teacher. We have 2 months and a week of summer holidays, and I barely leave the flat then. I need a people detox. This year, I didn't leave the flat for 22 days straight, and then I had to go shopping and hated it. That's so hard about being an empathic person. I can help others, but they're entitled and don't appreciate what I'm giving. So I say bye and stay home. So then that resentment leads to burnout. This is where many people in helping professions experience compassion fatigue. They become cold, get jaded, and just don't care anymore like they used to. One person said, I fell into this trap 32 years ago when I became a veterinarian. Even working part-time now, I'm a zombie on my days off. And what happened to those nurses? Even heard from some hairstylists on their burnout. customer service burnout. Of course, that one's a given. And the teachers. What about the massage therapist burnout? Yes, they're feeling it too. Lots and lots of burnout. And what you notice is that it doesn't come from the first day or the second day on the job or even the first year or the second year. It's after accumulatively giving and giving and giving without this number one thing that you need to have in place. Sure, you're catching on by now. One job that came up, likely out of a state of burnout, is the no job, the wishing for retirement already. Can I just not have to work? I don't want to be drained anymore. I don't want a job. I don't want to think about a job. I want money to magically appear out of the air. I want to sit in a garden and talk to the trees and rabbits and cats. Money is a human construct, and the absolute need for it to survive creates too much anxiety. I've been working as a warehouse worker for most of my life. Uncomplicated, no meetings, don't get hassled by any boss, no overtime. While working, I disconnect and think about other things. I work to live. I am not a career person and never will be. It's just not in me. Entrepreneur sounds nice, but again, it's not in my personality trait. Fact is that I hate the notion of a job. I do it because I must to sustain a decent life. I rather be by myself, alone, away from people. It's not that I hate them. I just like it more when they're not around. So we know that not working just isn't an option. So what can we do to mitigate the strain, to reduce the frequency and duration of burnout, eliminate the compassion fatigue? With boundaries. But there's so much more than meets the eye with boundaries, you see. It's self-compassion, it's self-care, it's self-love, self-preservation, all of the self stuff. While we're out there working, helping people and being around other people, we forget about ourselves, about our own needs. "37 years as a teacher just about killed me because I gave it all to everyone and loved the kids so much. But I was unable to make healthy boundaries. Teaching offers no boundaries for empaths, even when the clock stops. And when you go home to a husband and kids, they need and expect you to perform too. I knew how to stuff my feelings and show up. You drink or drug and resent and go on with your life until later. Unfortunately, it comes out. Those feelings, when I stopped working, I literally said, it's time for me. Kind of sad, but I felt I had to wait 37 years to work on me. Really sad. Mom was the same way. Highly sensitive person too. Now I paint in my studio, am a writer, make fairy houses, and walk my deaf dog. I fix semi trucks, so I fix semis how I want to. Brakes, tires, electrical, over 10 computers, air leaks, remove them and replace all the parts. I can go slow, fast, or anywhere in between. Been at it just over 20 years now. Boundaries are key. Now, one of the ways many of you set up boundaries for yourself was deciding to work for yourself. Because as you know, boundaries don't work on other people. Boundaries are for you. You get to decide what the workplace will look like so that it can support your own needs. Aside from having healthy boundaries for yourself and aside from working for yourself, what came through loud and clear was the realization from so many people that what made them feel most fulfilled and most at peace was being able to tap into their creativity. Even if you're still at a job that's been burning you out, being able to have that time for yourself to be creative really helps a lot and could lead to something else in the future. One person says, I'm burned out from working, period. I've been working since I was 15 and I'm in my late 40s. I'm tired. The current job I'm at has aged me to the point I'm barely recognizable myself because of physical wear and tear. And it has nothing to do with boundaries. It's just constant physical exertion for the body degrading. It really hit me. We're the only species on this planet that has to pay to live here. As you know, it has everything to do with boundaries. This person who has endured years and years of physical wear and tear to the point where they're tired and can barely recognize themselves was ignoring their body. So it's important for us to open up our minds to consider what else is out there for us instead of falling into a pit of despair, which can very easily happen when we're overwhelmed. Our life is only as limiting as we will allow it to be, as we will believe it to be. Even if this was a job you loved and your body just shut down despite the passion you still had for it, there's something else going on here. It's called resentment. Resentment for just society in general, for having to work in the first place. That's the first sign for us to know that we're not taking care of our own needs. We've stopped listening to ourselves and we've maybe closed ourselves off to what else is possible. Forgive me for pointing it out, but there is no such thing as compassion fatigue. Compassion is a state of being. It is intelligent and it is inexhaustible. When one is truly compassionate, that compassion encompasses all, including self. So it becomes impossible to neglect oneself or have no boundaries or overextend oneself. One doesn't have to do anything for that. Doesn't have to set boundaries or create a self-care plan because those just happen naturally without effort. If one is experiencing so-called compassion fatigue, then it is no compassion. It is a performative act, either conscious or subconscious. Well, self-compassion is not a natural and effortless act for some people. It needs to be practiced. It needs to be cultivated. And while this is not the compassion that encompasses all, compassion fatigue is the kind that forgot about the self and made it only about the other. And so, yes, compassion fatigue is no compassion at all. What you never had for yourself, well, you don't have for anyone else either. Maybe it was always just a performative act. Because if you never knew it intrinsically and you were just giving it to others, then was it real? And then that becomes very tiring to the point of exhaustion, giving up on everything altogether. I've been a nurse for over 12 years, and lately I find the work environment increasingly hard to handle. If someone turns on pop music with commercials, my brain locks into the noise and I can't focus. It's like sensory overload. The sensory overload is also a sign of burnout, and eventually what follows is shutdown mode, chronic illness mode, taking a leave from work and from life mode. So this is another boundary that we have to set for ourselves to know that overstimulating environments tax our already sensitive nervous systems. And yes, we may need to work in a place that is calm and predictable. As I mentioned, compassion is not something that comes naturally for people. So if it's hard for you, it might be because you don't think you deserve it. You think you only deserve pain and suffering somehow. And so that's inevitably what comes to you. We can become very sadistic in that way. You constantly have this negative judging voice in your head that only focuses on the downside of everything, feels guilt and shame for being kind to yourself, like you don't deserve it. Unfortunately, the 15 years in the hospital as a physician wasn't what left this person drained and ruined their health. It was something that happened long before that, something that set them up to fail no matter what they did. What I want you all to know is that no matter what you choose, no matter what job you're currently in, if you don't take care of yourself, it doesn't matter how satisfied the people are who you serve or how much money you make. It all really comes down to this comment right here.